All right, let's get into some drama, shall we? Because Spain coach Luis de la Fuente has clapped back at Hansi Flick's complaints about how Lamine Yamal's injury was handled. He said, "Here we take zero risks. I always tell the truth. What happened was, when the Turkey game ended, he had a bit of an issue, but I don't pick players who are carrying an injury." Well, best believe that novella did not end there. If you remember, Hansi Flick did criticize De La Fuente, saying that Lamine Yamal actually had to play by taking painkillers in that game and played a little bit too long. Well, we know that he ended up missing a couple of games for Barcelona there. He since came back, but then Spain called up Lamine Yamal once again for their upcoming games, World Cup qualifiers, that is, against Bulgaria and Georgia. But then a few hours later, Barcelona had a thing to say about that, because they announced that Lamine Yamal is actually injured now for the next 2 to 3 weeks after aggravating that groin injury. Stevie.
So who do we believe?
That's my question. What do you make of all this back and forth, club versus country?
Well, either Hansi Flick isn't telling us the truth, or the coach isn't. It's one or the other. One says they don't play injured players, but yet the injured player's coach said he was injured and had to take painkillers. So somebody's not telling the truth.
The only assumption I can make here is that De La Fuente goes to Lamine Yamal and asks him if he's fit. And as players do, Stevie would attest, you say yes. Even when you feel a little bit of it, if you feel you'll be all right, you know, you go to the physio, get a couple of painkillers, and you know, I'll go. That's what players do.
Right there, is that not when the coach steps in and goes, hold on a second?
Should be.
Have some discomfort.
Again, should be.
Right.
Should be. But we don't know. We don't know what happened behind closed doors.
We don't know who's lying.
We don't know who said. Yeah. We don't know who said what to who. And that's is all I can infer from this, because I don't think anybody just comes on and any lies like that.
Here's a question, right? Why are Spain calling this kid in anyway? Why would they? You have to look at it from a sensible, rational point of view. Surely. You know, it's not like the morning of the announcement of the squad, they didn't know that he was carrying something. So why have they even got him in the squad?
But imagine, Steve, if there was a fight between the Spanish FA and Barcelona. Imagine if that was the truth. And I mean, they're fighting and battling about everything. And now it's the same with Yamal. I think we saw some numbers before the show. He's 18. He has played 130 senior games for Barcelona and Spain. And Iniesta got 40. Gavin, was it 60 or something? It's like the unbelievable numbers that he has had. So this is quite interesting to discuss where he is, because he's so influential both for Barcelona and for Spain. And remember, this is a kid who is still growing. I mean, he's still growing, and he's been in the team for like when he was 15. This is a wonder kid. And I do fear that this battle between the Spanish FA and Barcelona, which is the oldest conflict of all footballers, we've all been there from when we were national players. But this is a conflict that is going on and on. There go more and more games coming up now. Well, this is a red flag. I mean, we should be aware now what we're doing with these kids. The
problem is that the national teams, the national associations have got too much power now. You know, in our day, if you didn't feel right, if you had an injury, you just made the call and said, look, I'm not right, I'm not coming. And they'd be like, okay. And that was it. Now, you've got to go through hoops. Well, apparently the player has to go, and then their doctors look at him, and they decide whether he's fit or not. I mean, what a lot of nonsense. There's no way the associations should have that amount of power.
People like you abused it, Stephen.
Exactly, Stephen.
You abused the...
Things had to change. Jan brought up an interesting... Shaka, Jan brought up an interesting point in terms of the amount of games and minutes that Lamine Yamal has played, so much so, and if that's a red flag. Well, FIFPro looked into it, and they called it alarming demands that have been put on a footballer of his age there. So, do they have a point there?
Absolutely, they have a point. FIFA have been saying this for quite some time, to the point that earlier, just at the start of the summer, there was an agreement between FIFA and some other body about limiting the number of games that players play, or more to the point, how much time in between games, etc. FIFPro was not involved in those conversations. Now, FIFPro is the largest player representative body in world football, yet they weren't at the table to discuss player welfare. Now, that kind of goes back to a rather contentious relationship between FIFPro and FIFA. But they have always been advocating for players in this way. And at some point, somebody has to step in and advocate in this manner for those players, because the truth is, whether it's the FA or the clubs, you almost want to sympathise in that coaches are hired, or more to the point, fired based on results for both national team and clubs. So you want your best players. What happens when your best player is 18 years old? Everybody wants that player to be involved, because this is their livelihoods that they're banking on this 18-year-old to deliver. So some third party, neutral-ish party has to come in, and common sense has to kind of be the order of the day. And I just don't think that without that interaction, we're going to keep having these conversations.
But the problem is, if I might say, I mean, the neutral part should be the football associations. There should be UEFA. There should be the FIFA. But they are global players as well. It's FIFA who have the FIFA World Cup, so for clubs that we're just talking about, Chelsea, the world champion. It's also them who is having the World Cup in 2026. UEFA, they have their tournaments. They have the Champions League. Champions League get more teams in now. The FA got their cup games. The leagues have their league cups. And who should be the neutral part? I mean, United Nations can't do it because they are doing other things. They can't do it. The government can't do it. So the only ones who could actually do it and stop it and say enough is enough is the players' organizations. And they are not even on the table. They're not even on the table, as Shaka is rightly saying. They're not even on the table being listening to. And I mean, who should then do it if the players' organizations are not even on the table?
All right,
the players need to. The players themselves have to get together. And people like Ronaldo, who's coming to the end of his career, would be the perfect, in my opinion, the perfect catalyst to head everything. You know, people are going to listen to him. Players will actually listen to him. People like him. Messi would be the same thing, because it's not going to change. The fact that the players have the FIFPro, apparently, it's supposed to represent them, clearly they're either not doing the job or they just don't have the power. And so the only way to get the power is through the players. And so the players have to get together, and then they will make a change. Because up until that point, nobody is bothered. They're just cattle, they're getting thrown around, and then when they're done, they bring another one in. That's all that's happening. It's down to the players now to get together and give FIFPro some power. That's the only way it happens.
Well, I'll tell you who'll continuously be bothered during these 2 to 3 weeks. Hansi Flick and Barcelona. Here's a look at their upcoming schedule. They're away to Sevilla this weekend. Then they have Girona. Then it's Olympiacos in the Champions League. But there's the big one, El Clásico, October 26th on ESPN, by the way. Real Madrid away is where they're going. Shaka, how much are they going to miss Lamine Yamal, at least in these fixtures, hoping that he's back for El Clásico?
Well, again, Lamine Yamal, and for all our discussions around his age and the battering that his body's taking, he is still the best player at Barcelona, and arguably the best player in Spanish football. I know Kylian Mbappe will have a whole lot to say about that. So it's impossible, it's near on impossible to replace somebody as good as Lamine Yamal. You are figuring somebody has to come in, and you are talking tactical adjustments, but when he's on the park, he absolutely is a difference maker. And how do you cope without Lamine Yamal? Hansi Flick will have to figure that out. On the other side of that very coin is maybe our discussions about Real Madrid have changed a little bit since last weekend, where they lost heavily to Atletico Madrid. Now all of a sudden they are showing that they're vulnerable, that they can be beat, that they, and let's be honest, during the course of that game, I just thought they went absolutely flat once Atletico Madrid kind of took hold of that game by the scruff of the neck. Real Madrid did not have any kind of a response on the pitch, emotionally, nothing. It was pretty surprising to see, in all honesty. So I think so much of these seasons come down to the two Clásicos. This one comes at a time where, again, both these teams are showing great things, but are also showing that they've got their faults.